There was one picture being flaunted on Indian media a lot during those days. It was of the janazah, the funeral prayer of some of the civilians in Muridke, probably, where the imam who was leading the funeral prayer, and behind that, the image of Pakistan's military officials and probably Prime Minister also. Uh, and it was claimed that the imam, the leader of the funeral prayer, was actually a terrorist. Have you seen that picture? And can you tell us more about him or?
Certainly. Number one, they wrongly assumed that that person was initially the news was. Let me step back and say initially they had mentioned about one of the leaders of Lashkar-e-Taiba, that they mentioned that he was targeted in these attacks. We still don't know.
Mm,
No such news has come about. This specific picture that you are referring to, also they initially thought what the person was, that was not the person. I'm now, rather than naming him specifically, I would argue that the Pakistani claim is that he's member of a local Pakistan Muslim League group.
okay.
Generals behind him, so it's not the person that Indians thought that the person is.
Mm,
He's somebody else with the same name. Then India came up with the details that that person is on the terrorist list of from UN sanctions. I think apparently that is still not the case. But the larger point is that they were Pakistani generals standing there. They went to Murid K in
mm,
solidarity with that. And that is a big question. Whether that, irrespective of whether the Imam is that person or not, at this moment we think he's not the person that India is claiming to be. Let's say, for the sake of argument, even if he was, or
mm,
if he wasn't, the fact that the senior Pakistani military command was there shows another very problematic and an enigma.
mm,
The challenge is that before this whole episode, Pakistan Army and Pakistani intelligence was not openly or publicly saying LET is our extension or a group that we have been supporting. And in this case, because of some of the lives lost, some of the innocent people's lives lost, the family members, women, children, old men, in this scenario, for the military to say that we are standing with them, those even innocent people, but in that facility, in
mm,
that in that environment where Murid K or Lashkar-e-Taiba's headquarters, which has been, if I may say, cleared. There were major action Pakistan took after the previous Mumbai attacks, and after
mm,
attacks had happened and Pakistan had taken action, they had arrested so many of the Lashkar-e-Taiba people. So Lashkar-e-Taiba was forced out of these facilities. These were taken over by the Punjab government. So these are
mm,
no more the sanctuaries or the militant headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba or any of its associated group. But still, for the military to go in uniform in that location tells us about the dilemma that now Pakistan is forced, even the government officials, to be
mm,
seen there, and that if that is seen as okay, that has taken the debate away from the problematic role and extremely poisonous role, if I may call that, conducted by Lashkar-e-Taiba. Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish Mohammed have brought Pakistan in a very difficult position. The operations which were handed over to Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish Mohammed and some other groups as well to
mm.
conduct independent actions in Kashmir has brought Pakistan in a very problematic situation. That reality stays there.
Hmm. Yeah, and that brings me to thank you very much for bringing Mumbai attacks. Uh, we have seen and we'll talk about that, the delegations that India has sent to 51, 51 member delegations of the parliament members. I have heard again and again especially from Mr. Shashi Tharoor. He's a dear friend and a very capable person, a very bright politician from South Asia indeed. But I have heard from him for last couple of weeks. All the time he has claimed that India shared dossiers, India shared evidences, very strong ones, but Pakistan did nothing against Lashkar-e-Taiba. So I think you are disputing that claim. What do you have to say? What did Pakistan actually do? Because we see Hafiz Saeed and everyone, from Indian eyes, it looks as if they are safe and secure. They are just going on with their normal lives. You dispute that?
I dispute that on the following grounds. Number one, we know that this guy Lakhvi, who was seen as a mastermind of the attack, was in jail. Yes, there were news items that he was given all the facilities. He even had a telephone. But the fact that in Pakistani media this came out and that this was published, that Lakhvi has access to telephone, which tells a lot about the freedom or some of the investigative capabilities of Pakistani journalists. Secondly, Hafiz Saeed had to face a case, and he is in custody along with many others. This had happened because Pakistan was sanctioned under the FATF, the Financial Task Force of the Financial Crimes, and this had implications for Pakistan's economy. Pakistan fought that case hard, and there were independent institutions and independent countries who, despite India's full effort, were able to help Pakistan to say, okay, they have moved from this one problematic category to the other. So they were independent countries and independent institutions which probed that. And one can say this had not happened to the point that would made India comfortable, or India would like, if I am a part of the Indian government, I would like to keep the pressure on. I would like to continue to say, no, 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 they need to do more. They need to do more because even if Lashkar-e-Taiba has happened, they will say, let's start talking about Jaish Mohammed. Let's talk about Hizbul Mujahideen. So I understand Indian position. They are saying it because they are supposed to say this and they need to put pressure on Pakistan. But to give credit where due, uh, because Pakistan is still part of that international community. Pakistan is still part of many of these international agreements, and their economy is linked. They have to get money from the IMF. So Pakistan, to their credit, went after Lashkar-e-Taiba. I think LET and some of their militant arms were at least stopped. One can debate whether those should have been taken in custody in a larger number, whether they should have been prosecuted. Well, there were many others who had funded Lashkar-e-Taiba
Mm.
would have been questioned. Those questions are there that can happen, and that perhaps one can argue can happen from a purely rule of law and law enforcement angle. But I think by under the circumstances, Pakistan did quite well in especially dealing with Lashkar-e-Taiba. I am not saying the same about Jaish Mohammed, for example,
Mm.
because Masood Azhar, I was hearing somebody say in major Pakistani media that he had vanished. Well, he cannot vanish. For sure, Pakistani law enforcement, security, and intelligence agencies know where he is. And there's much more blood on the hands of Jaish Mohammed, especially Masood Azhar, than Lashkar-e-Taiba. For
Mm.
example, Masood Azhar's group had given so many of these militant cadres to Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, to
Mm.
Sipai Muhammad, to Sipai Sahaba.
Because
Then
of.
many of these had gone into Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. Some of them had gone into Daesh. Some of these Punjabi Taliban who
Mm.
were associated with Jaish Mohammed. It is in Pakistan's own interest to go after these groups. However, even if they'll go after these groups, it is a different case that Pakistan would like to show that they are doing their counterterrorism for internal reasons, which will be an accurate thing. They don't want to give India the idea that we are doing it all for you. And Indian demands and I have seen Indian narrative as a part of the problem as well. India needs to realize that if they think that these things will be settled through use of force, and that is
Mm.
not going to happen. And that we have seen in this latest skirmishes as well. Irrespective of who won or lost, I think no one won, no one lost. It was at best a draw in so many ways. But because Pakistan, being a smaller country with much less resources, they
Yeah.
have shown to India that you cannot force this situation on us.
Mm.
That's the overall dynamic that I would mention.
Yeah, that's right.